Welcome back, AI curious folk, to AI Ramblings Daily Podcast, episode 103. I'm Michael Parekh, your human AI guide. As usual, we have a couple of things to discuss, actually, three, along with my takes. Today's theme: the battle for AI resources is accelerating, whether it's for AI talent at the highest levels, AI compute, wherever it's lying around, and sovereign AI share and access battles. Today, I'm going to discuss each one of these along with my takes. Let's start off with the item one, which is the continuing acceleration of the talent musical chairs amongst the incumbents. And this time, Google seems to have lost a couple of very key people to both OpenAI and Anthropic. So the two companies who are the definition of the US frontier lab race, the two companies who are both poised for their own $1 trillion plus mega AI IPOs this year, are taking advantage of all of that and sopping in the top of the top talent. In this case, at Google, they lost Noam Shazeer, who basically was a key person responsible for Google's substantial turnaround with Gemini in the last year or so. Google had hired Noam Shazeer back. He was a former Google person all the way back in the 2017 timeframe when Google published the now infamous, iconic "Attention is All You Need" AI paper that kicked off the whole generative AI rush. Noam was the senior of the 8 writers of that paper and was key. He went off to do his own startup, Character AI, and then Google bought it back a couple of years ago for $2.7 billion and contributed a lot to obviously Google's efforts. And now he's been snatched away this time to OpenAI. And that is ironic because Google's Gemini was what triggered the code red late last year at OpenAI, where they were like, Gemini is now really racing ahead versus ChatGPT, both kind of at the 900 million weekly user mark. And so anyway, this is a relatively big dent for Google, but they have a deep bench. They have Sir Demis Hassabis, who runs DeepMind, and a whole list of Google folks. But Google also lost another person, this time to Anthropic. This is Nobel laureate John Jumper in chemistry, who, along with Demis Hassabis, won the Nobel Prize last year. And now he, of AlphaFold fame, is departed to Anthropic. And that is, again, a couple of signals. Anthropic now has ambitions and has had, but now this kind of provides more definition at the application layer of the AI tech stack that I talk about and I show in almost every one of my Reset to Zero posts. And this is absolutely a big stake by Anthropic in the healthcare biology space from an Anthropic perspective, with John Jumper now joining that company ahead of their IPO. Again, if you look at this, most of these people they have obviously a lot of financial assets already, and that is an attraction ahead of an IPO. But the key elements here are likely deeper. The opportunity to work with world-class AI researchers at these other places with potentially less focus on commercial realities of what Google needs to do to scale their businesses to billions of users, or Meta, for instance. And this whole AI talent race is essentially the second phase of a talent race that already accelerated last year, if you recall, with Meta and its founder CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, going on a frenzy last year with a $14 billion acqui-hire of Scale AI, getting Alexander Wang to run a new thing called Meta Superintelligence Labs, MSL. And then they hired huge amounts of people from OpenAI and Apple and a whole bunch of others. I've written a lot about all of this. Again, all of this in the show notes. So this is the second phase of that ahead of these two mega IPOs. So this is the first of the three acceleration of AI resource race that I wanted to talk about. And this is on the AI talent mix. Expect all of this to continue, not necessarily just at the highest levels. You already had Nvidia also acqui-hired the Essential AI team, which is another transformer AI Attention is All You Need, co-author Ashish Vaswani, and you have different other acqui-hires are continuing. I just wrote on today's AI Reset to Zero Substack about Meta's $900 million acqui-hire of an Indian entrepreneur to head up Meta's WhatsApp application, which serves over 3 billion people around the world. So a lot going on in terms of AI talent and resources at the AI researcher level and then the operational level, and expect all of this to continue given all the green lights flashing in the private and public markets. Everyone wants a piece of all of this, and the researchers want to build world-changing things with less distractions, less friction, less competition for AI compute, which is presumably what they get at these new frontier lab entities that are poised to go public soon. Okay, second item to discuss today is the SpaceX a third deal for renting out their excess AI infrastructure capacity. If you recall, they'd done about $70 billion worth of two deals, one with Anthropic, one with Google, $40 and $30 billion each, cancelable by any time, right ahead of their IPO for SpaceX, which gave a lot of investors some credence that, hey, there is an AWS-like strategy at SpaceX potentially. I called it EWS, Elon Web Services. And they just announced another deal with a company that's lesser known, Reflection AI. I've written about them. They're viewed as the DeepSeek of the West, essentially. It's a startup about 4 or 5 years old. Nvidia is a core investor, just like they were a core investor in some of the new clouds 2 or 3 years ago, like CoreWeave. They're a core investor in Reflection AI, and they're basically backing the $150 million a month that Reflection is going to pay SpaceX for AI compute capacity as they train their first open source US-based model. So Reflection is planning on taking some of the space that Llama from Meta took, to a couple of years ago in terms of open source software, and Nvidia is backing them. So this is a three-way win-win-win deal. SpaceX gets extra revenue, $150 million a month for the next 2 or 3 years, so about a $6 billion deal. And then you've got Nvidia backing the Reflection AI. I wrote a big piece a few weeks ago that, Nvidia and Apple, in my mind, are the two logical open source AI leaders in the US relative to what's going on in China, where almost every one of their companies is really focused on open source. I wrote about DeepSeek raising billions of dollars just a few days ago at a $50 billion valuation. Microsoft is considering potentially using a DeepSeek software for Copilot, again, a bid to lower the cost, the variable costs of using AI, which again, a lot of business customers, even though they're convinced that AI is going to help them with AI agents and reasoning and all these other things, the compute costs are flagging a little yellow and red. So open source has a big role to play, and SpaceX providing capacity to Reflection is a tactical step in the right direction. So I wanted to highlight that event, and that would be my take. Expect a lot of this to go on. EWS is building ad hoc in terms of these types of deals, and they'll probably have more opportunity to do so. You may see something like this also at some point from Meta, but Meta has over 3.5 billion mainstream users of its property, so they need a lot more of their capacity that they're building on AI data centers relative to Elon's data centers. And so Elon has more of an opportunity to do these types of deals right now. Number 3, I want to talk about, and we touched on it in a couple of things a couple of days ago, but it was notable that at the G7 meeting this year just finished, sitting alongside of the heads of state were the top leaders of US AI companies and tech companies. So AI is now sitting at the same table as heads of state. So that's the big headline observation. And again, this is a kind of unprecedented battle for AI share and access by countries. I've talked about this trend of sovereign AIs. Every country, developed and developing, is trying to figure out what is their sovereign AI strategy. And the notion that you had Sam Altman from OpenAI, Google's Demis Hassabis sitting next to Emmanuel Macron from France, Anthropic's Dario Amodei, and Salesforce Mark Benioff, all kind of rubbing shoulders. Even President Trump talked about, hey, I talked to Dario and he doesn't seem to be a bad guy. He's a nice guy. And this after, obviously, the US government unilaterally caused the blip 2.0, what I call the blip 2.0, shutting down Anthropic's mythos and fable models 2 Fridays ago. And that is still continuing the blip 2.0. It's obviously a reference by me to the blip 1.0, which was 3 years ago when Sam Altman at OpenAI was fired and then rehired by his nonprofit board over a weekend, with Microsoft potentially ready to step in with a $45 billion acquisition of OpenAI. Back then, history could have gone a different way. As we look at OpenAI looking at $1 trillion+ valuation, mega AI IPO. Anyway, so this race at the state level, heads of state level, is just beginning as well. Everyone's trying to figure this stuff out. We're only in year 4 of ChatGPT, so all of this is a continued battle for resources this time in terms of sovereign AI. So that's my third take I wanted to talk about. My overall take on all of this is all three of them basically highlight something that is continuing in terms of the scarce inputs into AI. And we haven't today even talked about the global short supply of power, of memory, of compute. All of these things are just big considerations going on. We're just talking about these three that I touched on today. So there's a lot of other bottlenecks that are all being fought for, and they'll all make, very vivid headlines in the media, and then a lot of zeros attached to everything. So to widen the race here on all of this is just something that we need to be attentive to. This stuff, its frenemies is accelerated. The trend, everyone needs to cooperate with each other as well as competing tooth and nail, talent, compute, sovereign deals, etc. So this is a trend in my mind with more tailwinds than headwinds. And so something to keep tracking. So let's now move on to the Gadget AI section of the show. And here today, Meta, as expected, they launched a whole bunch of AI smart glasses. Remember, they are the current leaders. They've got 7 million of these Meta smart glasses that they've been partnering with companies like Ray-Ban, etc. They've been reasonably successful. They're kind of open headphones. They have cameras for short videos and pictures, and you can ask for Meta AI on these things. But these things cost $400-$500 each, with all the component costs and so on. Excuse me. Meta had to have another option. Excuse me. So they announced a number of smart glasses without the fancy brands from Ray-Ban, etc. Under their own banner. They'll be distributed through their retail partners and so on. But they'll be $299. I'll have a lot of links in the show notes in terms of the features. They essentially will have all the features of the Gen 2 version of the Meta glasses today without the display units. And that's the second tier that Meta is also going to release later. Has released one version as well. And then you had the Snap AR glasses that I talked about at a $2,200 price point. Expect this year Google to have a range of glasses as well as Amazon. Apple is already rumored, and there's a lot of reports on it, to have their AI smart glasses next year. The core question from my perspective on all of these, and yours truly will play around with all of these and come back to you with reports, is that there is a societal issue on the creepiness of these classes. There's already a sub-industry on Facebook. You can find people for $100. They'll take away the blinking light if you're taking videos and pictures, because influencers want to record everything with their glasses and post it online. And my point is, there is a spectrum of privacy and trust in these things. And right now, from low to high, my ranking would be Meta at the low end, Google next, Amazon as the number 3, and Apple, even though they don't have their product out yet, is probably going to be the most trusted, because they don't have a business model yet that is, ad supported, that where you are the product, etc. They don't have a social media network to feed into, whether it's a YouTube or Reels in the case of Meta. So that's the relative spectrum. People will try all of these because in a world with 5 billion smartphones, selling 50, 100 million of these things is not out of the question. Remember also OpenAI with Johnny Ive, with their $6.5 billion acquisition, is poised to announce a whole bunch of AI devices in the next year or two as well. But right now they seem to be focusing on an AI smartphone and other AI wearables, but glasses are probably not are probably also in their potential portfolio. So watch out for that. But these new Meta glasses, that's my gadget AI thing I wanted to talk about. Again, if you want to see the pictures, they've got one with Kylie Jenner that people are excited about in terms of the fashion metal tips so that they don't take makeup off your nose. They paid attention to ergonomic details with these things, and a price point of $299 is a subsidy in this current environment in terms of the electronics that go into these things. Let's move to the questions of related to some of these things. I've been playing around with these things for a long time, so one of my core questions I get often is, what's my favorite use for the AI smart glasses today? I don't use it for the camera and the ability to call for Meta AI in these new glasses. They're going to use their new Muse Spark AI, which you can access on your phone through the app, etc. I typically tend to like the built-in headphones on these glasses. Sometimes you get tired of wearing these AirPods in your ear, etc. So it's nice to have open ears with these glasses and being able to listen to music when you're walking around, etc. So I do use that a little bit, but still I'm too tied to my Apple ecosystem with the AirPods, so I tend to revert back to these. So I still haven't found my killer use case for these smart glasses. They're absolutely interesting to try, but I'm not quite there. So we'll keep seeing if they continue to fix these things. Second question I got is, how much do I use the cameras on the glasses? To me, it's a novelty item. I've used them, but the creepiness aspect is, gets me every time because we don't have society's permission to use these things that way. And if I want to take pictures and video, it's far easier to just take my smartphone, take pictures. Everyone knows that I'm doing that. So it's a signal already. We do not have yet an established signal to society with these glasses and other devices that'll, Apple's supposed to have AirPods with cameras, although that's not for people necessarily, more ambient AI awareness. But societal permission is an important element that will need to be resolved, hopefully, over the next year or two as millions of people try these things as a gadget. So that's our show today. I hope you found interesting. Our post today, 11/26, is on Meta's $900 million acqui-hire in India for the new head of WhatsApp. A lot of implications broader on that. So do take a look at that. And tomorrow, we'll have ARD 104 and 11/27. I want to thank you again for joining us today, AI Curious folk, and stay tuned.